5, 16, 19, 21, 33, and 10. Check results. You remember?
For today, Doctor Away. How is everyone doing? It's 291, I think. And I actually have stuff to talk about. And I don't want to waste any time, do any kind of bullshit tangents, or get lost on any kind of paths here. Because I actually have a direct route. And my route is heading directly for Joey Barton. Who is, if you don't know who Joey Barton is, he's an ex-pro. He's kind of a madman. Now, this actually exposes my ball knowledge more than it insults how good of a footballer Joey Barton was. Joey Barton is someone who I remember for playing the game and mainly being regarded as someone who gets red cards and is insane. And therefore, I don't actually remember who he played for. So I'm going to actually Google that right now. Joey Barton, who'd you play for? He's still a manager. No, he can't be a manager right now, especially all the shit he's been chatting. He must be out of work. He's coached Bristol Rovers FC. Wikipedia. Let's see what it tells me here. I mean, I know they're not... Okay, he played for Man City, actually, for 130 appearances. With that being said, you're right. It was Man City between 2002 2007. So they're not the Man City they are today. Let's just say that. There was a very different, more struggling side. Actually, let's Google... We'll go in between two. Let's go 2005. See where Man City finished. I'm typing with one hand and my left hand, so I'm kind of slow. Man City finishing. No, league table position. It would be awkward if this was like a purple year and they just was second in the league. This shows on Man City league position. We'll go to 2005. Basically, though, Joe Barton's been going on a bit of a rampage. A bit of a stormer recently. They were 8th. Okay, I was expecting actually a little bit lower. Let's go 2004. Let's see if we can find... See, if I was 1 year off, to prove my point a little bit better, if I went 2004, they were 16th that year. You know what I mean? They're in and around Everton, Leicester. I mean, to be fair, wait, is this year's league table? Why is it showing me this year's league table when I click on it, but when I'm off it, so it doesn't let me see who's around. Right, I don't know where Chelsea finished this season, 2004. I mean, actually, did we win 2004, 2005? Maybe. Who won 2004, 2005? No, I'm sorry. Now I'm going. I said I wouldn't do tangents, but league position, league table, 2004, 2005. League table, 2004. Just show me the fucking table. People are waiting. People are waiting at Arsenal. We were second. Whenever I see people do football quizzes and it's like, what year did your team win this? And it's like a United fan and they say the exact year or whatever. What year did Fergie sign? I know these are like big dates for them and stuff. But I'm just always surprised because I've never been good with dates like that. And I couldn't tell you when the war was. I couldn't tell you when it ended, when it started, the First or Second World War. I'm just not good I didn't do history, but I'm just not good at dates. I can barely give you my own birth date. But no, we were second that year. And Man City was 16th. Anyway, so my point basically being that Man City, around this era, this is obviously before their takeover, and they were relegation team. And that's where Joe Barton was. So now it looks good. It's actually really with each when Man City win a treble and with each success that comes to Man City, it actually makes Joey Barton's Wikipedia look even better. Because I played for City. When it doesn't matter, I played that. I was a boy in light blue. He also played for Newcastle. He played for QPR. Interestingly, he was on loan at Marseille, which I just don't see him acclimatizing to that world particularly well. Burnley, Rangers, so he kind of seems like, maybe like a more problematic, what's his name? Oh my god, I'm just exposing myself today. Gareth Barry. Maybe a more problematic Gareth Barry. He was sort of, around the league for a while. Maybe not at the best sides, but I feel like Gareth Barry is one of the most, if not the highest appearance player in the Prem. I'm still not getting to my point, but now I need to Google that. Most Prem appearances. It would also help if I wasn't holding the mic because then I could actually type quickly. Yeah, it's Gareth Barry. But then you see Gareth Barry, and it's like most of those about West Brom. You know what I mean? So it's like he's kind of like people would argue Gareth Barry should go down as like in the Hall of Fame as like one of the legends. I'm not saying he was a bad player, but like it is kind of, but like 650 appearances and it's like gigs. It's those kind of players that Gareth Barry's up here, Milner's up here. David James is different because he's a keeper, but you know you got some players like that up here. I thought I said Conor Gallagher for a second. Jamie Carragher. I was about to say, what the fuck do you mean Conor Gallagher? But yeah, so basically Joey Barton. That's him. That's Joey Barton, and he's kind of been going on a bit of a Twitter tear. Basically there was this video of this female sort of TikToker influencer. I don't know who she is, but like man, she's a City fan, I guess, because she's on Man City's like Insta page, like posting stories for like the Champions League game, and basically I watched the video to see what he was going on about because he didn't like it. And I think in the video she says, I'm here for the game against Leipzig at home. Obviously, we beat them away, so we're already 3-1 up on aggregate. Which is technically wrong, I think. Because, firstly, the aggregate rule is not a thing anymore in the Champions League. And what that rule is just essentially that if you're playing a team, you'd play 2 legs, home and away. Say they beat you 2-1 away from home, then the score is 2-1 on aggregate, which means you're effectively going into the second game 2-1 down already, but it's going to show us 0-0, but you're 2-1 down already, right? And then if you won that game 1-0, although overall that would now be 2-2, you would go through because away goals mean more and you got an away goal, and that's the aggregate rule, right? That's no longer a thing, which I actually did kind of like that. Added like another layer to things. But secondly, even if it was a rule, she's doing the group stage game, and that doesn't matter in the group stage anyway. That's what just done on points, and like, you know, if it comes down to it, I guess goal difference and shit like that, right? So she's technically wrong there. But Joey Barton loses his collective share, and he says, I mean, look at this nonsense. You give them a fucking inch. Was going to use the hashtag get them out, but no doubt it will be taken out of context. Now, I'm gonna pause right there. What is it in context? You're currently saying, look at this nonsense. You give them an inch, you know. You let them in, and they're like fucking termites. You just can't get rid of them. You know what I mean? He's like, you want them out of the sport, right? He has little tweets where he's like, I don't want females commentating on men's. Oh, does he mean like get them out, as in like that could be taken out of context in terms of like a sexual way? As in, like, if I used to tweet get them out, is that like a joke there from Joey Barton and I'm just slow? Mate, potentially. Which is just like, you know, this is the problem, Joey. You're trying to get a point across, but then you're having this sort of joke in the middle, and it's like, people aren't gonna be on your side anyway. Out the stadiums and off the concourse with the influencer fucking nonsense. Men Shirley, enough's enough. Most men aren't called Shirley. That's a little joke for me there, Joe Biden. You know, it's a great banner. Someone's got to say something or it won't ever end, and then laughing faces emoji. Yeah, so not a great look. Obviously, a lot of people didn't like that, right? So a lot of people have replied to this tweet, right? They said this and that. And also, speaking of war earlier, about how I couldn't remember when the war wasn't that. Like, if you scroll back to one of his earlier tweets before he started this whole tear thing, it was, lest we forget. And then like a picture of poppies and stuff, which in itself is obviously not a bad thing. I think it's, you know, people fought in the war. You know, they died, you know, in the World War IIs and that in the country against bad stuff is good, right? I remember being a youngster, being a scout I was, and we'd have to go and then we'd have to hold the flags and stuff, and then they'll parade and then they'd play the final post. You know, there ain't nothing about a minute's silence. Like, it's not bad to you know, lest we forget the whole war stuff, obviously. But I do just think it speaks to a certain person sometimes when you see that on their page. Not because, obviously, primarily that's bad. It's obviously good. But it just speaks to someone who's, like, incredibly patriotic and doing something which, like, makes you look like, oh, you're a good person with good values. You're valuing this thing where people lost their lives and stuff. But, like, it's really just because, like, it's like this patrioticness, though, that obviously leads to maybe toxic people with toxic tendencies, which we'll see from Joey in a minute. If that made sense, if you kind of caught the flow of what I was trying to get at there. But now essentially that he's just him tweeting a bunch of like dolls naked and stuff. I'm not even reading on what point he's trying to make it about people having no bollocks probably or something like that, something lame. He mentions here Piers Morgan, which I'm going to get back to, and it kind of opened my eyes to maybe what's just going on here with Joey Barton. He's also posting like Conor McGregor memes and like calling himself a king, saying the king's back, and it's just kind of cringe, mate. He also like people are obviously tweeting him saying what you saying, mate, trying to basically tear down his argument. And then it's like Conor McGregor memes like who the fuck is that guy? And it's like once again, Joey Barton, I know like it's crazy. Like obviously punching down is never a good look, right? But punching down if you're actually up a bit, it's like being up on the first step of like 16 staircase, whatever, 16-step staircase. You're up on the first step and you're punching down, you're already losing your head. It's like, what do you mean who the fuck is that guy? So many people, like you're Joey Barton. You're known for controversies, not really football. It's like you're not exactly, you know, like it would be out of order. Of course, if like Alan Shearer said it or Ian Wright or someone else, but like at least it would make sense a little bit more. Then he goes, and then basically Laura Woods like tweets out something which is kind of like a very benefit of the doubt. She's like basically saying, I disagree with what you're saying, but I've worked with Joey Barton and had no problem with him before. So this kind of feels like a weird tweet. Like she kind of said it like that. And then Joey Barton tweeted, basically, you know, why are you tweeting stuff and indirects? And if you got something to say, why are you hiding? Say it to my face. You can come debate me if you want. Just make sure you're ready. Which, knowing what he did to his wife in that court case, sounds like a threat, Joey. I'll take your silence as a sign you know it's not for you. It's just like it all just seemed very weird. Almost like, are you being hacked right now and someone's just doing an extreme over the top Joey Barton impression to get you cancelled? I don't know. If we go up further, where was the good one I saw? I think he had a tweet. I'm not sure where it is now. But like he did this long tweet, right? And at the end, the hashtags was like hashtag the king is back, hashtag women out the game, hashtag Hakuna Matata, hashtag I'm the king. And it's just like all this cringe stuff. Firstly, you're already off to a bad start when you use a lot of hashtags, because it's just like, why are you hashtagging your own stuff like hashtag the king's back, hashtag Hakuna Matata, also like referencing Disney's animated movie, like you think of yourself as what, Scar or some like Hakuna. It doesn't even make sense. It means no worry. Like what relevance doesn't make sense what you're saying. But no, my favorite one here from Joe Barton recently on his speed run of getting cancelled, which he probably completed like 15 years ago already, but is stand by everything I've said on women commentating and doing co-coms on the men's football. It's like me talking about knitting or netball, way out of my comfort zone. Some of the men are bad enough. We have gone too far. You cannot watch a game without hearing this nonsense. Anyone who says otherwise is an absolute fart parcel. Okay, so we have using hashtags. Red flag, Joey. Maybe extremely patriotic, which being patriotic isn't really the bad thing. It's what like it's the other views that extremely patriotic people could have, is what I'm trying to say. Kind of another red flag. He's been talking about himself in the third person quite a lot. Bit of a red flag, massive red flag. And then fart parcel. This sounds like Disney Channel kind of, you Nimrod, you fart parcel. You know, like what? Dickweed. It's like, doesn't make. What are these insults? It's kind of crazy. That obviously, you know, they're not gonna. But here's the thing: I was reading these all, just thinking, why is he doing this? And I'm like, I'm not sure if he's still managing at Bristol Rovers. I just don't think he would tweet all of this if he was. So I'm gonna guess he's not. And I just feel like he's maybe came to the realization he's never going to be a good manager. You know, at a decent level and make any kind of good money. He only wants to do it maybe if the money is going to be okay, and he'll never be that. So maybe he's struck management off the boards. Maybe he's already struck Sky Sports and Talksport off the board, because although they like people like Gabby Bonlaho, just mouthy people who have opinions that people don't like on football, though usually, um, you know, maybe he's already been told he's not going to be in those rooms in the future, or he just thinks he won't get those opportunities. So maybe he just realized like the only path for me is just being this sort of extreme character, just really leaning into how I think basically, and just being like those people like a Kitty Hopkins, and you just make a career off of going on shows like he mentioned earlier with Piers Morgan, like calling people out to debate you, right? And that's your job. I'm the guy who's controversial and says controversial things and gets torn apart by people on talk shows, or goes on Piers Morgan and just says stuff. And then, that's like your whole gig, I guess. It's not a very sustainable job, but, you could do it for a few years, I guess. Maybe that's what he's looking to do. I don't know. But, like, is there any point in entertaining half the stuff he's saying? Because it's like, yeah, there has been some female commentators who have said some, like, stuff that just doesn't make sense. And I feel like 90% or maybe 100%, well, not 90% of female commentators I can think of right now, or people who talk on the sport, have played the game, not the men's game, and there will be differences probably between the men's and women's game, right? But they've said things that are just categorically wrong or whatever. Not like opinions, but stuff like the aggregate thing, I guess, just not true. Or like in terms of points and stuff, they've said like hopefully they can pick up 3 points on the weekend, and it's like they got a knockout game on the weekend, and it's like they probably know that, but they've slipped up and it looks extra bad, and it's like whatever. But equally, I've heard Gabby Obonglahor just say things that just Michael Owen, Jermaine Genius. So it's whatever. He said some of the men are bad enough, which is like, yeah, you're telling me, Joey Barton. There's a reason. I'm reading one, but like, here's the thing about bad opinions though. Like it's one thing in football though, as much as like Gabby Bonhorn, and he's like been chatting shit and talking stuff about like Harry Maguire, and it's like everyone needs to apologize because Harry Maguire just won Player of the Month, and it's like, as much as I disagree with you a lot, at the end of the day, these are football opinions and stuff, and it's like whether you've played at a high level, you've managed at a high level, you've never played the game, you're skillfully good at the game. Like Joe Barton makes a point, or like Gabby Bonhorn makes a point, like most of these people who chat shit about Harry Maguire couldn't even do 2 kick-ups. Which is like, okay, let's pretend you're not paralyzed and you have both your legs and you couldn't do 2 kick-ups, right? Doesn't change anything on like, well, maybe it does in certain areas, I will admit. If you've never played the game, when you look at someone in a certain scenario and they do something, you might not understand how difficult it is or how it would feel to be in that situation, right? But still, like, what you're effectively saying is if you're like some guy in a wheelchair, it's like, no, your opinion isn't on the game. You don't know it. You don't get the game because you can't do 2 kick-ups, mate. Sorry. It doesn't even make sense. Like this whole, I'm Gabby Glovenhall. I've played for Villa or whoever the fuck, right? So that means everything I say is like this is knowledge. I'm found in the knowledge, right? And anyone who replies to me on Twitter, like if Gary Lineker or someone wants to reply to me, fair enough. But anyone on Twitter, it doesn't make sense because you've not played in the Premier League, right? It's stupid. Like 90% of people who are watching football, talking about football, they know the rules. They understand the game. They've played it, and that just means playing it. That just means Sunday League anywhere. You get it, right? The things you won't understand maybe are some social media pressures and like things like that in terms of spotlight on you. But for the most part, you get it, because as tense as it feels for a footballer in front of 60,000 people score a penalty, you could feel as tense, if not more, being like non-Sunday League or whatever, penalty. There's like a very small crowd of like 30 people around, and this is like huge for Sunday League. It's like, oh my god, I gotta do it for the boys. You play like semi-pro, and you make a small wage, and you got to have another job on the side, and it's like this could be the difference between making so you can do this full time and go fully professional or not, and like therefore like, and this for you and your whole team and like everyone who works at the club, and that pressure feels even more huge than like what it would mean financially for the like the difference between your club getting £1 million if you're like a top 6 team compared to like everyone in the club and the staff going from semi-pro to full time, right? Lower down, there's a lot more pressure there. But like from some of these people arguments, it's like because I'm playing at a high level, we just know more about the game. It doesn't make sense, right? But aside from that, and how I think some of their points on football are done, is that everyone understands the game to pretty much the same level. Some people have opinions, and some people have opinions, and you'll hear those opinions and think those are fucking stupid and completely different to mine, and vice versa. But at the end of the day, they're opinions on football, right? But I just think, I don't know. I don't know. I just think the Joey Barton thing is just something that, like, I don't know. It's weird. It is weird and very, like, I just think it's a weird choice to just all of a sudden now want to be really, like, upfront with your, like, wild opinions or whatever. Like, I feel like he's obviously gunning for something. Like, he's trying to, like, get himself, like, even if you had cancelable opinions, you wouldn't just say them because you understand, you have common sense that this will ruin your career, so you just keep them inside and say them in the four walls of your own house. So the fact he doesn't even understand that just means he must. There must be some kind of end goal here. Like, he can't just be kamikaze in the career. I don't know. But yeah, that happened.
Here with the kids, and they had like 3 kids, and the geezer was probably on like maximum 20 bags a year. Like the most boring bloke you'll ever meet. He was like a hero.